Yo, what up, YouTube? It's your boy Zai. You already know, man. But this is gonna be something outside of the, usually what I talk about. But I was watching Joe Rogan's podcast, and they had something on there that was I'll say exciting. I mean, they always have people that come on there and talk about certain things that I find intriguing, but due to the fact that my channel is pretty much on another page, so I had never really tried to delve too deep into, conspiracies and things of that nature outside of the basics, you know what I mean? Because I do have videos on conspiracies, but not that deep. I'm not one of those, for anybody that has watched Game of Thrones, like a lot of people watch Game of Thrones. Like I've read like every book that the guy came out with, but except the last one because it was more pictorials, I think. Like, unless I was reading the wrong one, so I chose not to go down that rabbit hole, seeing that I had already known about everything. You know what I mean? And was just looking to read another book that had more information. You know what I mean? Because it's a crazy book, but I noticed that they had put something on his channel as far as like scientists, bringing back the dire wolf. And I don't know if you know about the dire wolf and House Stark, but House Stark is one of my favorite houses off the whole Game of Thrones franchise books. I've always when you go deeper into their history, you understand why. You would probably understand why I chose them as one of my favorite, if not one of my favorite, but my absolute favorite house in Game of Thrones. But they brought back the dire wolf, and now I hear that they're in the process of bringing back the woolly mammoth, and you got to ask yourself, it's like if they can not splice DNA, but create certain things that have been long extinct because they have living relatives that their DNA only vary probably slightly. I'm not going to get into it because I'm not technically savvy on the whole DNA process, but they brought back the dire wolf, and they bringing back the woolly mammoth. Will they try to bring back the saber-toothed tiger? Because I can guarantee you, it's not gonna stop at just the wolves. I mean, the wolves are by nature a predator. Like their whole thing survive. They have pecking orders and stuff like that, but they're essentially a predator, and in most parts they're an apex predator, because in their especially if they're in packs, like they it's them. That's wherever they're at. The wolves are extremely intelligent, and they're extremely dangerous. Beautiful animals, but they're dangerous, and people have to remember that they're dangerous. I even heard something on the podcast where the guy said, he was actually allowed to touch one for the last time, and he said he had to think about it and say, let that be the last time I touch this animal, because that's what they are. They're animals, and they're wild. Regardless of bred in captivity or brought back from the dead, their instinct is to hunt and to kill and to essentially survive, and for the most part increase their numbers, and they have certain ways of doing things. Now I'm intrigued by this because I know that there's people in the past that have said the same exact thing, that what they were capable of, and I knew just watching Jurassic Park what they were going to be capable of, and the fact that eventually they would try to try it. We had long been hearing rumors of them bringing back prehistoric animals, and for the most part people would be like, nah, because it would be too dangerous. Well, they showed you exactly what could happen on Jurassic Park. And now you're seeing firsthand exactly not what can happen, but the fact that they are capable of doing things that they were formerly unable to do. Now, people want to talk ethical, you know what I mean? And is it really right to take an animal that's been dead 7,200 years, 72,000 years, and bring them back to a time where it's drastically changed? I mean, you have multiple wolves. You have the gray wolves, which I think are maybe the biggest. I'm unsure. Like, I need to do some research on that. But then you have other wolves. You know, I think in Canada you have all these different wolves. Some small, some extremely big. But you have all these different wolves, and to reintroduce something like the dire wolf. I mean, I don't know exactly how. You know, if these particular wolves are more deadly than others. I heard just by certain things that they're a lot bigger. The hair is a lot different. Their mannerism might be slightly different, but it's yet to be determined exactly if they pose a threat to anybody. You know what I mean? For the most part, they have them on a reserve that they've been paying for, and that, you know, certain things that, you know, benefactors have been paying for. But how long you think it takes into somebody that has a lot of money are able to acquire one? And then, you know, people that like to get pretty things and then they don't want to deal with them, what they do is they tend to release them to the wild. Some release them to the wild because they want to see exactly what's going to happen. They don't care. They don't care about the fact that this might be, that this animal may not be able to live amongst everybody else, but they essentially want to do it because it's somewhat of an experiment. Like, you know, people that release like all these snakes and stuff into Florida, into their marshes and stuff like that, and look what happened. Now it's like, you know, you got all these predators threatening the natural eco, but that's not why I'm making this video. I'm just pointing out the fact that, you know, you hear it a lot, like men trying to become gods, because that's essentially what it is. You're playing God. But scientists have always been on that pace. They want to, they don't want to live alongside the theory of as far as like everything being created by one person. They like to bring science because the science can explain everything. There's a lot of things that science can explain, and this video is not to put them down or to try to make it seem like they are bad people. It's people that are not only inquisitive, but they're curious. A lot of people, there's a lot of animals that have went extinct that I would love to see visually. Would I want to interact with them? No. But to visually see them, of course, because it's one of those things that, it's something that you never thought that you would see in your lifetime. But then, why not bring back the Bengal tiger? I think it is not the Bengal tiger, but it's an animal that's out of Australia that went long extinct, and it had like a leopard type print, but it was like on a weird looking animal. His tail was like it's crazy. I don't know. He's like a wolf, a lemur, or a lion. Like, he was something. He just had like multiple things. Bring back him. Bring back the saber-toothed tiger. Matter of fact, bring back the T-Rex, because I feel like everything in these movies are pointing towards this type of advancement. Like, it's like, when the whole cloning thing was going on, people like, you can't clone. Yes, you can. If right now they can take your DNA and create a perfect human being with no birth defects, no genetic, nothing as far as like sicknesses and genomes that could lead to like cancer. If they can do that, just imagine what they can do now. But yeah, it's one of those things that it's crazy. Like, I need to go back and really like pay attention to that interview, because it's crazy the things that they are thinking about doing. And he never really said that the things that are possible that they wouldn't go. Nobody ever said that they're, I never heard him or anybody else say that they would refrain from it's funny. It's like it escapes me sometimes, but they never said that they would not try to create certain dinosaurs. I know by morally and other things that go into it, they might have a little pushback. But then when you got military implications, they're always trying to advance the military. So I'm sure there's people that have deep pockets that are, because he said there's people that actually, they donate money and stuff to that. So they have their benefactors. I'm sure out of all those benefactors, one of them has to be the military. And those scientists like to steer clear of the military because they know there's certain implication behind having them involved in your business. But it's kind of hard to get around them when you're dealing with government entities and you're creating things that could potentially have major impacts on the eco. You're going to have these people involved, and some of them out of mistrust, some out of just sheer curiosity, some out of the fact they just want to observe and keep a watch on exactly what you're doing, because any chance of thwarting them in the future, they want to be up on it. And then there's people, like I said, that are on it because military implications. They're like this, you create a super dinosaur, or super this, like if mass production, that's what they're thinking about. And can they be controlled? This is what it boils down to in the scheme of things. So I'm not on here to, talk mess about this, the creation of direwolves, because like I said, House Stark, and I'm a direwolf fan. I'm a House Stark fan. You know what I mean? As well as Daenerys, who wouldn't? But there should be real concern. And it's not to put a damper or put like any type of, start throwing any type of shade at it, but there should be real concern, because if you can bring basically a wolf that's been long extinct to the future, no, not take him from the past and bring him to our future just by a little bit of, DNA and magic, you got to also think about what else they're creating that they're not telling you about. Because I can guarantee you, if they're not doing it, somebody is doing it. Somebody has figured out their way of doing things and are probably doing their best to bring back a lot of other things. I can guarantee it's probably like some underground bunker that housing all like type of extinct dinosaurs, and they're doing their experiments because the curiosity. Scientists are naturally curious, and they're constantly trying to either prove something or dispel something, but they're constantly being curious. So just imagine with things of this type of implication. Look at this all over social media now, so I can guarantee you they created the direwolf, they've created other things, and they're probably going to create things that shouldn't be created. They should be long left dead, because it's a different time. Like right now, humans are the apex predators, you know what I mean? Because with guns and other things that are involved, but we're the apex predators. So just imagine when you reintroduce something that at their time were at the top of the food chain. Be wary of this, in a sense. I would love to see a direwolf, but I do not want to see a T-Rex or, any other long dead predator, that wasn't human or even human. I don't want to see them either. You know what I mean? How long till we have zombies or something of that nature? I know I'm stretching it, but anyways, this video is going on Zod's Vendetta TV. It is a podcast, so as you're seeing right now, but yeah, just pay attention, and sorry if I didn't have pictorials and try to, but you can easily find, just look for newly created direwolves or something, and it's gonna pop up on YouTube or Google, or CNN is talking about it. A lot of other outlets are talking about it. I just wanted to give my take on it, and the fact that going too far down the rabbit hole scientifically might lead to other things that should not be brought back. But that's just me being cautious. Like I said, Zod Vendetta TV got a lot more to come, but this is just me personally. I will have other people on the podcast talking. But yeah, this is just something I thought about covering. And with that being said, you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Hopefully you like and subscribe. And Zod Vendetta TV. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.